Welcome to the Gridiron Unfiltered podcast powered by Recon Sports, the show where we take a deep dive into the world of sports performance. I'm your host, Danny Davis, and today's conversation explores the powerful intersection of neuroscience, sport, and innovation, understanding how the brain-body connection can lead to new levels of athletic performance and rehabilitation. Our guest is Dr. Joe Shattuck, a neuroscientist, former professional racquetball player, and the founder of Panther Tecc. She competed on the women's professional racquetball tour for over a decade, where she ranked number 6 in the world, while also coaching at the U.S. Olympic Training Center. Joe went on to earn her PhD studying motor learning and the brain-behavior relationship, leading federally funded research in neurology and biomechanics at the University of Colorado. Dr. Joe, we're thrilled to have you and welcome to the show.
I am thrilled to be here. Thank you so much. This is wonderful. So glad we got to connect.
Yeah. Dr. Joe, you've lived a journey of professional athlete, coach, neuroscientist, and now entrepreneur. What was the turning point where you kind of realized that you could directly transform how athletes train, recover, and inspired you to ultimately start Panther Tecc?
Oh, goodness. Well, the story is I started racquetball late. I started at 17, so I didn't have the mature strokes. I certainly didn't have any coaching in racket sports. I was an athlete, but I fell in love with the sport. One day it just clicked, and I said, I want to make a living at this. But I'd never played before. It had only been like 3 months. And so I had to quickly learn myself how to hit the ball, all the biomechanical techniques, and become kind of an expert in sport, or at least racquetball stroke movement. And figured there had to be a better way to learn movement than the way I was doing it, which was clunky and looking in the mirror and trying to translate words and images into how something felt. And that's just, words are really dumb that way. I'm sure you've experienced someone trying to describe to you something that you can only feel. Yeah. So one of the things we say is, and just bear with me, if an alien came down from Earth and wanted you to describe what salt tasted like, what words would you use to describe it to them? Right. Is that helpful? No, it's not helpful at all. So with the innovation of the cat, which I'm sure I'll talk about later, is just how do you translate words and pictures into something you can feel? And that's the kind of the genesis of Panther Tecc.
Interesting. Was there anything that you learned while being a professional racquetball player to now being a neuroscientist? How did those two kind of play? How did those two intertwine together?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe a story I can share. One of the interesting things is I was teaching a clinic to half a dozen Japanese pro players. And I don't speak Japanese, and we had just come from Tokyo. And I remember, I'm very animated. You may not know this, but I'm not very shy. So animated and doing all these things and moving and talking and yelling about how to hit the ball and how to do certain things. And then about 15 minutes in, I realized I stopped talking. And I was just all animation and movement. And I stopped trying to say the things that weren't helping because I don't speak Japanese. Anyway, so that was kind of like, you don't need your brain to understand movement. You just need to feel it. And then when I went to Nebraska, got my doctorate focused on motor learning, it was actually kind of cool. We'd studied the brain waves of people before they knew how to do a small repetitive task, and then a week later after they did know how to do it. And we saw some differences in the frontal lobe, which is a lot of science stuff I could talk about for hours, but I won't. So that's where the neuroscience, you can't separate the brain from the body. You can't do it. And you shouldn't do it. We're one entity.
Interesting. So does that play into like maybe the neural priming and the temporal prediction? What can you tell us what those are, and maybe even some ways to boost those?
Sure. That's an excellent point. So idea behind CAT, which is Kinesthetic Awareness Training, is to get your brain to have a much better accurate model of where your body is in space. And we can do a couple exercises here if you like, but the idea is there's the where of your body, which is where are my arms and legs and head, and then there's the when of my body. When those don't match, you're not going to move properly. It doesn't matter what movement you're trying to do. If you don't have awareness and control of the where and the when of your body. And think about, watching, I don't know, little kid baseball, and the pitch comes, hits the catcher's glove, and then the kid swings. You're like, well, that's a problem, right? You have to swing before the pitch or as the pitch is coming in. So temporal prediction is a technique that we use in kinesthetic awareness training, and it involves verbally saying when you think something's going to happen related to your body and your movement. So you're coordinating your mouth, your mind, and your brain. So for example, what I might do, we can do it right now if you like. You could take your finger and point it out straight out to you and slowly bring it to your nose with your eyes closed. And as soon as your finger touches the tip of your nose, you're going to say now. And but if you don't do it, you might find yourself doing it early or late, or maybe you're right on. But you want to do it with me right now? Okay. So I'm say 3, 2, 1. Close your eyes and touch the very tip, not the fingertip pad here, but just the very tip. Okay. Close your eyes. 3, 2, 1. Go. Too slow. That was cheating. You know why?
Why?
Because you're getting more. There's more time for you to get information and make the minor adjustments here. So we don't want you to cheat. So just for now,
right
ignore the prediction. Close your eyes and go right to it and freeze. 3, 2, 1, go. Good. And you did slow down a little bit. You did decelerate a little bit. And that's okay. That's you adapting. That's the magic of neuroplasticity. But so now I want you to do it again. And this time, I want you to say the word now when the tip of your finger touches the tip of your nose. Okay? And we're going to watch. Ready? Close your eyes. And go. Good. Were you right on?
Well, I think I was a little bit off.
Early?
I couldn't even tell which way.
Okay. That's really important. You need to know which way. Do it again.
Yeah.
That was better. Okay. So what your brain did, even if you didn't realize it, what your brain did is it recalibrated the where of your body and the when of your body in space and time. And so that's what kinesthetic awareness training is that it's equivalent to, you ever go to the mall? I don't know if malls are big these days anymore. And you look for the you over here arrow and you're trying to figure out, like, where's the Baskin Robbins? If the arrow's wrong, everything you do from there is going to be wrong. So when we teach athletes, when we teach anywhere from developmental athletes, 4 or 5 years old, all the way to the pros, the one thing that's consistent, has to be consistent, is their accurate model of where their body is in time and space. If you're at home and you're on a computer, maybe you're watching, you can do this too. Take your mouse, turn it upside down, and try to do what you normally do. And you'll very quickly realize that it's really important for control of the cursor, which is just your body. Your body is your cursor, right? To have awareness and control of it. So if you ever want to, try brushing your teeth with your left hand too. It's a really good exercise to show the contrast of what happens when you don't have awareness and control versus when you do. So I'll go back to the temporal prediction. One of the techniques that we use in kinesthetic awareness training is high focus, low repetitions of these recalibration exercises. And to be clear, it's not that you do it hours and hours and hours. You do it a few minutes before you go in the batting cage or shooting or the golf range or get in a competition. So it's a priming. That's what you mentioned, the neural priming. That's how kinesthetic awareness training helps with that.
Interesting. So I think let's dive into what your cat product and Panthertec does. Can you give a quick overview of the technology and kind of how it works and what it's really meant to target at, that kind of spatial time language barriers, to kind of break those down?
Absolutely. So the cat is a device. I think I have one here. It's a body-worn device you wear anywhere on your body, and it learns a movement that you teach it and then teaches it back to you with beeps and vibrations that you hear and feel through the device. So we kind of joke it's like a mix between a motion capture sensor and a shock collar. But then people's eyes get really big and like, okay, it really doesn't shock you. Although if you haven't been aware of a motor pattern and you get a buzz when you do it, it's the equivalent of, oh, I am doing that. So it's a body-worn device that learns a movement, teaches it back to the wearer with beeps and vibrations, comparative to a Simon Says for movement, right? This is the movement it learned. It's going to teach me that movement back, but not in an hours and hours kind of way. So we know a lot more about motor skill acquisition now than we did 30, 40 years ago. And it's not the volume of reps. It's the correct recipe, the accumulation of corrections that you make. Like, when you hit your nose and it was on the side, did you immediately feel the urge to put it back to the middle? Right? That's because the brain wants to have an accurate body model. It's not just yours. It's everybody on the planet. It's an evolution self-preservation thing. In any case, so this is a device run by an app, and it helps movement educators with their clients or patients learn to become better at whatever movement whatever their craft is. It's football or during football or kicking a punt or whatever it might be. That makes sense. Did I describe that well enough?
Yeah. So all sports, it can be done for all sports, and it's basically trying to capture and teach back to you a movement in whatever sport that may be. Is that fair?
Mm-hmm. Sport, rehab, military, vocational, industrial. It's sport agnostic, and a lot of the things in sport. And you're an athlete, is that there's a lot of one size fits all gadgets out there. And maybe they try to tell you how to do something or show you a number. A lot of people are about collecting numbers, and no question that is really good at understanding a movement. But when you want to help the kid in front of you as a coach feel something, then that's where this device comes. That's where it's most powerful. Yes, it does data collection, but that's where it's the main thing is you see the aha face of, oh. I like to say, like, the problem we solve is, Coach, I am doing that, right? And then the athlete watches the film and say, oh yeah, I didn't think I was doing that, and I'm looking at video, and yeah, I am doing fill in the blank with the thing there.
Before we jump back into the show, a quick shout out to one of our proud sponsors, Gardner Roofing. If you're looking for a roofer you can trust, Gardner Roofing has been Colorado's go-to team since 1998. They're family owned, built on integrity, and they treat every roof like it's their own. Whether it's repairs, a full replacement, or just a free inspection, Gardner Roofing is the name Colorado trusts. Check them out at gardnerroofs.com or give them a call at 303-332-6224. Gardner Roofing, their family has your family covered. Let's talk about those two use cases there, and let's maybe zero in on baseball. You have multiple MLB players using the cat, and also multiple youth players using the cat. So if I'm a youth player and maybe even a youth coach, how is this going to help me teach my athlete or my baseball player how to swing the bat the correct way? What would that process look like?
Oh, good. Yeah, I can help with the process. Let me say something first, is that there's no knowledge in the cat at all. It only knows what you teach it. So all you have to do is look on the internet and see that there's 1,000 different ways that someone wants to teach hitting. Whatever your way is as a coach is what it will teach back to the athlete. So the other day, whenever it was, we're teaching a kid not to tuck his arms in, right? He couldn't get this positioning of the bat. And so in one case, and I can share a video if you like, but put it on this elbow, right? Put it on the wrist, right? And you capture this position. Your athlete is standing still, whether they're at the plate or in their living room, they need to be able to, if this is the position you want, and I'm not a baseball coach, so don't say that this is how it should be done, but they need to be able to recreate this position if that's what you want. If they can't do it standing still in the living room, they certainly can't do it when a ball is coming at them. So first do that. Then, as the coach, I would take the app and have them hold that position, press a button, and that when the cat remembers this position in space. And then when they practice, even just a few practice things, say, okay, Johnny, can you find that position again? He finds it. Oh, there it is. Oh, there it is. Now, interestingly, a lot of athletes will look at themselves to see where they are in space, but you don't have to do that. Your body is beautifully made to not know. You don't have to know you don't have to look at yourself to know where you are. And that's good, because it'd be hard to do anything else in the world if you had to just watch yourself, right? So the process would then be, we would take the athlete through a series of, call it CAT techniques. One is just find the position with your eyes open. Find it with your eyes closed, which is the most telling because you get really big adjustments. The next one would be predict when you can get there, now, kind of just like we did with the now. As soon as they can recreate that position in high focus, low reps, you put them into a sport context, and it would be toss a ball, have them swing, and then swing, and then swing. If they don't get the bat, they're not allowed to swing, right? So there's 100 different ways to do it, but the whole idea is you get an athlete to feel what you want them to feel in the minute that you want them to feel it in their sport context for a short amount of time, then put them back into your normal coaching or practice drill, whatever you're doing, right? Does that make sense, the process?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. And then at home, the athlete can say, well, I know I'm going to work on this. We had a really crazy session today, and I couldn't get it right away. So at home, they can do it themselves. I know it's here. They can take their phone, press a button on the app. There's a delayed countdown before it captures. So you can press a button, and it goes beep, 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 beep. The long beep is where it captures. This just allows you to be able to use it by yourself, because otherwise you'd have to try to. So it has that countdown. And then that's programmed in there for you. And then you can do your priming before you go to the batting cage or just before you hit balls, wherever. That will allow you to practice with an accurate body model instead of spending the first 10, 12 pitches trying to figure it out. So that's what the priming part is.
Interesting. Yeah, that does make sense. So it's, even from teaching at the youth level to now, I know you're not a baseball coach or, coaching how they're actually using it. But now when you go to the MLB and you have professional athletes using it, they obviously don't need to be taught how to do something over again. But what's one of the main reasons why they're using it? Is it just for the habit? Is it just another piece of technology that they can have? What would you say is like the number one reason why a professional would want to have something like this?
Got it. Well, it's definitely not just another piece of technology, because there's plenty of you can go to any locker room in any athletic training facility and open a drawer, and there's tons of technology that's not useful. So it's definitely not that. The reason that this is popular with our pilot athletes using it is that it's only about feel, and it's 100% customized to that athlete. It's not a one-size-fits-all. So when I was competing, there was never a time where there wasn't some sort of technical backhand or forehand or serve issue I was working on. Maybe I started to lift my shoulder, or at the beginning of the season, mechanics are different than the end of the season because fatigue and injury, or, so much load, right? Different tournaments, different stressors. So you're always working on something. And it may take, it used to, 3 or 4 days to figure out, oh, that's what I was doing. That's opening up too quick or whatever. Maybe not opening up enough. So with the CAT, and with this type of training, you can identify it right away, quickly address it, quickly sort of recalibrate that body model, and then get back into what you're doing. So that's why the question was, why would people from youth development all the way to, elite level want to use it? It's because once you learn a skill, it's not just there forever. As you know, you're constantly working on it. It's something called, well, you can probably edit that part out, but it's homeostasis, where your body's not the same today as it was yesterday or the next day, right? Your level of hydration is different. Your hormones are different. Your fatigue level is different. Your cognitive load is different. So because you can capture that movement that day on that athlete for that body type, that's what makes it so customizable. So it's never a regression to the mean type of thing. It's very much what you need in that moment, in that time, to recalibrate your body model. The second reason you might want to, or you would want to use it, for one, it's portable, it's affordable, you can use it anywhere, it's customized to you, is that there's margins of error that you can change. So if I'm doing my hand casting thing and I want to allow myself to come in a little bit closer, but not go out too far, however that might be, there's a slider on the app. It says, today, I want to be real tight. I want to really be dialed in. For whatever reason, as a coach or an athlete, you're always obviously playing with the feel. Say, this feels good today. I'm gonna allow myself a little more movement in. So customizable to the athlete's skill, body type, and sport, all the way from 5 years old to the pros.
Interesting. That does make sense. Thanks for walking us through that. And when we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, it's not even just for professional athletes or athletes in general, but one of the use cases that I found interesting was golf. And, if you're going to take golf instructions and you go and pay someone $150 an hour for a golf lesson, well, this could be something that you take to your golf lesson to, he can coach you through it on the right movement. But now when you get home, you don't have that coach with you, but you still have that movement pattern and you're able to practice that much more and get that much more out of your lesson, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And a question we get sometimes is, well, how does it know? So if you did take it to your golf pro and did your lesson with it, the coach can either be involved with it or not. But the point is that it doesn't know. It only knows what you teach it. So when I get asked that question, then I ask back. I say, well, how do you know what to practice now? Like, oh, I don't know. I guess I just, try to remember where he said and what it felt like and the words he used. Like, there's no magic person every time you practice saying, okay, Danny, here's what we're going to do. That's why you pay for the lesson, right? This is a way to take that knowledge with you. If you can do it once, then you can build your practice around that one accurate movement. So you only need to remember it once, and then you can do it. And that's another thing, muscle memory. I could talk forever about that, but
yeah. So what's a term that I saw quite often on your website was a term haptics. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Haptics. What is that? Have something to do with muscle, the muscle memory? Can you describe to the fans what that kind of means?
Sure. Yeah, haptics is a fancy word for vibration. That's all it is. And I can get a little nerdy here. So that your body is always interpreting your sensory motor input. When you touched your finger to your nose, there's input from the skin of your nose to the skin of your finger. There was warmth, there was pressure, right? That's all sensory motor. Haptic is the word we use to describe the input that you get from vibrations. Everyone has a vibrating device now. Obviously, it's a cell phone, vibrates all the time. That actually travels up a different sensory motor pathway to the brain than words or visual or feelings, than different input. So this is a way to augment, when we say haptic feedback, it's vibratory feedback as a way to augment what your body already naturally does by the things I mentioned, the muscle activation, the touch, the warmth, pressure.
Interesting. And how does this play into, the wrong ideas about the 10K rule on hours or from Malcolm Gladwell? What does that have to do? How does that play into it?
Yeah, interesting. So I have an article coming out. It's called Cat versus the 10,000 Hours, but it's not really a versus. It's more of a complementary. So this is actually the first time that I'm putting this out in the public. So you get dibs on it. The reason, just the thinking behind the 10,000 hours, and if you don't know, Malcolm Gladwell, like you said, a popular neuroscientist, popularized this idea that was coined by Anders Ericsson, who I had the pleasure to meet before he passed away, is that expertise involves X amount of hours, 10,000 hours of doing it, because that's just how long it takes. We kind of took a concept of that and we said, okay, yes, that's true, but why? And my colleague Kyle Burrell and I am writing a paper, but it is that it's not the volume that makes a difference. It's sort of if you do enough, you'll get the magic recipe of the number of reps that require this correction this adaptation, you only learn things when you make a mistake. When you're correcting kinesthetic dissonance, which is what you think you're doing and what you're actually doing, right? So it all goes back to the right number of the right reps in the right order. That's why it's kind of exploded to, it's got to be 10,000 hours for that to accumulate. So it's like this happenstance accumulation of the right reps. We think with technology that's now available with CAT training is that you can distill that down into the right reps at the right time. And maybe, we don't know this, but just maybe 70% of the reps that you do don't add any value. And what if you could get rid of those? What if you could only concentrate on each rep that adds value? And by value, I mean an opportunity to learn something and learn a correction or become aware of a movement variability pattern or neuromotor pattern, right? So it's kind of like the 10,000 hours is throw it all in a bucket. Somewhere along the way, you're going to pick up some skills, right? Our shift of thinking is that, yes, but if there's a way to eliminate the reps, and we're not talking conditioning, right, or endurance, we're talking motor skill acquisition, right? If there's a way to eliminate the reps that don't add any value, wouldn't that increase the longevity of the athlete? Wouldn't that increase the efficiency and allow for more of that athlete's time to be put in the rest of the performance pie, which, as you know, is nutrition or therapy or watching film or mind, mental training or strength and conditioning. All the things that go into being an athlete of any sort is there's a pie that piece of pie that your time, right? One thing you don't never have enough of. So you can eliminate hours from actually learning a new motor pattern or learning to maintain or change a new motor pattern, and directly through kinesthetic awareness training. Wouldn't that be a better way to do it? Does any of that make sense?
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite quotes is, "Do not mistake activity for achievement." You can be swinging the golf club wrong for 10,000 hours. Is that going to get you better? Or swinging it with certain technology and a certain process and certain coaching for 100 hours, what one are you going to be better at?
Right.
That's interesting.
Right. And also, it doesn't discount the natural learning that happens when you do things weird. Like I was saying the other day, or maybe just now, brush your teeth with your left hand. That's a weird thing. It doesn't discount the value of exploring new motor patterns, but it just makes the ones that do count more valuable in learning for retention and transfer and retrieval.
Where do you see? How long have you been doing this for?
Well, it's my life's work. It's no big deal. So no big deal. I filed. Well, it's been about 15 years to get to here, but first opened the company in 2020, right before the virus hit. So that was bad timing. But I've been an athlete since I was 15. I mean, earlier than that. And so I've been studying movement in my own way. Got a master's in sports science and a PhD in neuroscience focused on motor learning in 2019. So I really, right around then is when I went full-time into making the CAT a thing.
Okay, cool. Where do you see it maybe in 10 years from now? Do you have a vision for
I have
it?
big visions. You remember when nobody knew what electrolytes were? And this is I think it's a Gatorade thing. Electrolytes was not a kitchen table word until Gatorade started to put it out there, right? And now you'll see, 11-year-olds, man, it's electrolytes, right? So whether it's marketing or a way to sell drinks, whatever it is, what I'd like to think of is that we would do something slightly different in that teaching kinesthetic awareness becomes something just like power or strength or endurance or stamina or cognitive load or all the terms that people whose job it is to make other people move in a certain way use on a daily basis. So ideally, awareness, that's a word, right? But kinesthetic awareness is your ability to recreate your own positions in time and space and this is really important, not the same thing over and over and over like we learned when I was a kid. it's that mindless rep. It's not that at all. So in 10 years, it would be awesome, and maybe sooner, that would be fine, if, kinesthetic awareness and neural priming before competition or before practice is really a way to accelerate human performance. That would be ideal. The concept is not, it's not a new concept, right? People talk about feel all the time. And you're an athlete when you're like, oh, you got to don't chase numbers, chase the feel. You got to learn by feel. You got to feel it to do it. You can't describe it, right? So that's where it's not a huge stretch to imagine that, kinesthetic awareness can replace I got the feel today, right?
Right. Interesting. During this process and being an entrepreneur and starting your own company, is there anything that you've learned along the way that maybe surprised you, and not just your product, but just having your own company and trying to get it out there, and what have you used for being an athlete to help you propel through maybe some of those obstacles?
Oh, that's an excellent question. Yeah, and I guess this is an athlete kind of based audience, is that if you're a coach and you're coaching and you have a timeout and you may have 20 seconds or 60 seconds, there's maybe only 3 things, and 3 might be generous, that you could tell your team or your athlete that they can take right away into the game. As an entrepreneur, first starting this, remember I was an athlete and a scientist and then an entrepreneur, I would get 10 different ideas of how to do one thing in one day, sometimes in the same conversation, of all the things that you should do or shouldn't do, right? You got to do this, you got to do that. And I'd like to think I'm a lifelong learner. I'm a sponge. I try to absorb everything. But wow, it's really hard when you have someone who has, all the letters behind their name saying you should do this. And then at the next conversation, a person with this equal credibility is saying the opposite. You're like, I don't know what to do. And you're nodding your head because you've done it.
Yeah.
Right? So let's see. I don't know that in that particular case, I don't know that I could use my athletic resilience or what I've learned in athlete for that, except just get up again and try it again the next day. Like, yes, you go to bed confused, you wake up confused, maybe lack of confidence, but you keep doing it, whatever the thing is you're doing, keep moving forward towards your thing. And moving forward, and this is a really good analogy, it's not like a line, it's like a spiral staircase. And in a spiral staircase, sometimes you're facing the wrong way. Just, you're like, this is not even where I want to be going, right? So that's kind of a helpful analogy, is that you can't skip stairs. You have to go through the steps of analyzing that person's advice or what they're doing or how that might work, and then you going up. So as long as you're going up, you maybe feel like you're facing the wrong way, but you're still making progress.
Yeah. I definitely know what that feels like. And well, from what I've noticed helps me is really being clear on the vision and where I want to be. And then when I ask for advice, they don't maybe know my vision. They don't have all the data points that I see in this industry. It's not that they're trying to give me bad advice, but it's like, with being very grounded on where I want to be and what I think that this can do, can do. I definitely have been in that same boat as well.
Yeah, with your company for sure.
Yeah, and I also know the big language barrier too. Like to bring it back to the beginning of the conversation, even just we're talking about using language to coach. From a data perspective, in my world, using language to like mark down what's going on, take a body weight. Some people might call it body weight. Some people might call it weigh-ins. Some people might call it body weight weigh-ins. Some people might just put pounds. So now when that goes into a database, you got one thing named 5 different ways by 5 different people. Does not fly, right? There needs to be a naming convention, a different way to go about doing it. So I definitely can resonate with what you were saying on that.
Yeah, that's similar to the teaching the Japanese crew. I just stopped talking because the words I used didn't make any difference. So I taught by moving, and yeah, that makes sense. The language is really important.
Big time. Big time. Dr. Joe, where can people find you at to learn about you on social media, your website, learn more about Panther Tec, buy one themselves? Where can people go do that?
Sure. So the website is Panthertec, and that's panthertec.net. You won't get there if you do .com. Also, Kinesthetic Awareness Training.com is another one. Kind of a mouthful, but that's kind of more than scientific ones. But yeah, you can buy one today. There's some cool new features coming out. This is not infomercial, so I won't go through in there. But if you're interested in learning at all about kinesthetic awareness and what it is, take a look there. There's some blogs. Panthertec.net, and no H on the tech.
Got it. Folks, we'll put those links in the bottom here. We'll put them on the screen as well. Great information, great tools if you're coaching someone, or if you like we use the example, if you're going to get coaching yourself, want to really maximize that time while you're there, this is a great supplement to what you're doing.
Thank you, Danny. And anytime I don't live up in a tower, so if anyone wants to reach me or talk about or have a question or idea or whatever, I'm a lifelong learner. So just reach out. No foul.
Dr. Joe, thank you so much for coming on again. Fans, thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Fan Day Nation so you don't miss out on future episodes. And we'll see you next time.